Appreciate you guys for tuning in. Remember, it's your boy Gabos, man. Subscribe is the vibe, my boy. Your boy's on the road to 4K. Humbly. So next up, we got a video brought to you by Sunny V2. Hollywood won't cast these 7 actors anymore. Why? Random fact. Yo, growing up, I always wanted to be an actor, y'all.
Why?
I don't know if you can tell my boy, but your boy always wanted to be in front of the camera, man. Like, you know what I'm saying? It was kind of like, how could you not growing up back in the day, bro? When you had like Will Smith on Independence Day, Denzel Washington on Training Day, you had classics, bro. I could sit here all day and mention some of the bangers, bro. But I ain't gonna front. Y'all remember that episode of Fresh Prince when Will cried to Uncle Phil about his pops not being there? And you felt that shit in your chest, bro? Like, I felt that, you know what I'm saying? And I remember looking back at that scene, I'm like, yo, this man Will ain't really crying, but he crying. I like that. But things have changed over the years, and, you know, I stopped pursuing the acting career, but I did do a couple of castings here and there. Nothing really ended up panning out, but you know what? It only brought me closer to my people. Know what I mean? So we got Hollywood won't cast these 7 actors anymore. Let's figure out why, man. Appreciate y'all. Hit the like button.
We're going to talk about 7 actors who are no longer cast by Hollywood, beginning with Seann William Scott, whose performance as Stifler in American Pie was so iconic that it actually hindered him from landing future roles. Sean stated in a 2010 interview, "I had so much fun and loved the character, but I don't want to be known as that character forever. Now I'm realizing that I probably will be known as that character forever," also adding in a Conan O'Brien interview that Stifler's basically all he's seen as when fans meet him in real life.
Do people like think you're Stifler? Do you have situations where people think that I'm that guy?
Yeah.
They think that
I haven't seen this man in 20
It's
years.
made it difficult for Sean to land any role where he wasn't playing a douchey frat boy, although this wasn't so much of an issue at the start. He'd star in films such as Dude, Where's My Car?
He killed his roles,
as
yo.
well as Role Models, finding success in each film with the American Pie persona. However, these types of raunchy teen comedies aren't all that common anymore, and with Seann William Scott approaching his 50th birthday, it's not difficult to see why he no longer has the same utility as he used to. Between 2019 and 2022, Sean didn't appear in a single production, yet he would return in a TV series called Welcome to Flatch, in which Sean still looks exactly like Stifler over 23 years later. Although Seann William Scott isn't the only actor with this problem, as Christopher Mintz-Plasse has been unable to escape the legendary name McLovin ever since starring in Superbad. The movie was literally Chris's very first acting role, being cast for his unique nerdy appearance, which when plastered on a certain iconic fake ID,
looks so frail, it's hilarious.
It stated in a Vanity Fair interview, "The day after it came out, I was a nobody, 18 years old. I'd never done anything in my life. And then the next day I go to a Habit restaurant, and then someone across the way goes McLovin in front of like 40 people. Then I was like, oh, something is changing in the atmosphere here," leading to concerns from fellow Superbad co-star Emma Stone, who stated, "Is Chris Mintz-Plasse going to be called McLovin for the rest of his life?" Chris had found himself with the same curse as Seann William Scott, which is interesting as the two would star alongside each other only 1 year after Superbad, where Chris played a character very similar to McLovin. More than half of his 5 most recent films have been voice acting roles, possibly done so he could disassociate from McLovin, yet on the trailer for his most recent film called Honor Roll, one of the top comments is still, "You know you're getting old when McLovin from Superbad now plays guidance counselor roles in teen movies." Despite being unable to escape the curse of McLovin, Christopher Mintz-Plasse has managed to find success in the music industry with his band called Main Man. When asked during an interview, "Do you ever feel pulled toward acting or music more than the other?" Chris responded by stating, "I would love to keep balancing the two. I think I'm very lucky and grateful for where I am right now that I can do both. Acting, you can work for 3 months and not work for 6 months. So in that time, I love the momentum of music and everything that's going on. The momentum right now is very musical. I kind of just go with the flow, and it seems as though Jim Carrey has taken on a similar attitude." In the early days, Jim Carrey had a never-ending list of cult classic films. The Grinch, The Mask, The Truman Show, Dumb and Dumber, Ace Ventura, even Eternal Sunshine of a Spotless Mind was amazing. However, when was the last time you heard any hype around a Jim Carrey movie after maybe the second Dumb and Dumber almost 10 years ago? There's a good reason for this. Between 2016 and 2020, Jim Carrey took a 4-year hiatus from acting, which seemed to have been catalyzed by the death of his ex-girlfriend in late 2015. The tragedy not only resulted in grief, but Jim Carrey also had to spend the entirety of 2017 embroiled in various lawsuits related to her passing. He was dismissed of any legal wrongdoing in early 2018, yet only 6 months later in a Hollywood Reporter interview, it was explained that Jim Carrey was an actor who had effectively renounced his own celebrity after stating, "I just didn't want to be in the business anymore. I didn't like what was happening, the corporations taking over and all that. And maybe it's because I felt pulled toward a different type of creative outlet." Jim Carrey instead began to focus on painting, and while he would
I'm not even gonna hold you. Like, one thing I've noticed about Jim Carrey whenever I notice him come up on my reels, he's really woke. You know what I mean? And I'm not talking about like woke in terms of like activist for any type of charity or whatever. Like, just the way he articulates himself and the things that he talks about like he knows about like the Illuminati or something. Like, he has like a third eye that's so open that nobody even knows what he's talking about, but you can hear some brilliance in him.
Turned to acting for a brief period in 2020.
Jim Carrey
He'd
getting
go on to
old,
state this
man.
in April 2022.
Well, I'm retiring, but I really liked my quiet life, and I really love putting paint on canvas. And this is something you might never hear another celebrity
He's a
say
painter.
as long as time exists. I have enough. I've done enough. I am enough.
He added that Sonic the Hedgehog 2 would
I
be his
respect that.
final movie, and apart from a small appearance in the Weeknd's Out of Time music video, Jim Carrey has stayed true to his retirement. But whatever happened to Tobey Maguire?
My God, the worst Spider-Man ever.
I don't care what other movies
But
this
the
guy
original.
plays in, he will always be Spider-Man to me. And while this is true for most Tobey Maguire fans, he isn't really typecast in the same way as McLovin or Stifler. He found success playing fairly unique roles in other films such as The Great Gatsby, yet since 2014, almost 10 years ago, he appeared in no more than 3 films and 1 episode of a TV show. Why? He's not a romantic lead, he's not an action star, he's not a comedic actor, he's not a Shakespearean. His boyish good looks were appealing in his 20s and 30s, but not when he's in his early 40s. Basically, Tobey Maguire has a limited range as an actor, and there aren't many roles for him within that range. Besides being fairly limited in terms of what roles he can play, Tobey Maguire has also found himself in numerous media scandals. In 2015, it was reported that Maguire won as much as 30 to 40 million in illegal poker games over the course of 3 years, with most of this money having come from a hedge fund manager who's now serving 10 years in prison himself for running an illegal Ponzi scheme. The poker games were organized by a woman named Molly Bloom, who wrote in her memoir that Maguire asked her to bark like a seal who wants a fish in order to earn a $1,000 poker chip. The poker game organizer added that she tried to laugh it off. However, the actor persisted and said, "I'm not kidding, what's wrong? You're too rich now, you won't bark for $1,000? On top of this scandal, there are YouTube compilations dedicated solely to Tobey Maguire getting angry at paparazzi, although the main reason behind why he's disappeared from Hollywood is because he's busy making movies as opposed to acting in them. Despite having acted in only 4
it's not like
productions
the money
since
stuff.
2014, he's been the producer for 8 movies during the same time period, which is significantly more prolific than Taylor Lautner, who was blacklisted by Hollywood for a much
Teen
more
Wolf.
brutal reason. Taylor Lautner became an overnight sensation at the age of 16 after starring in the incredibly famous series Twilight, with his attractive physical appearance helping him to land the role and maintain an audience of dedicated teenage fangirls. Almost every Taylor Lautner interview focused on his body.
So everybody's talking about the scene where you drop your pants. How was that?
With the whole Team Jacob vs. Team Edward fiasco, helping Taylor Lautner to earn an estimated $40 million from the franchise. He was so famous that for 10 whole
he's
years,
straight.
he didn't go to a grocery store, movie theater, or a mall, although over time, this insane level of fame began to fade. The 4 movies he starred in after Twilight each failed to crack 6 stars on IMDb, the worst of which being described as a 4th-rate Hollywood thriller that bundles a lot of thievery from better movies, is entirely bereft of suspense or excitement, and features a leading man who absolutely positively cannot act. And by 2016, Taylor Lautner had stopped exercising altogether, leading him to lose the body that had made him so famous in the first place.
And, you know, what happens when you don't want to see a gym is you start losing the 8-pack. Seeing it online was very tough. And being like, wow, he's let it all go. I was like,
You're not even fat.
Man, did I really let it all
You're just
go?
not 16
It'd be
anymore.
unfair to call Taylor Lautner's Twilight success lucky, as he definitely had to put in a lot of work prior to landing the role, but it did seem like he'd caught the right wave at the right time. The movie demanded a fit guy in his late teens, which Taylor Lautner suited perfectly at the time. However, this on its own was insufficient to ensure any long-term success.
I'm not even gonna hold you, bro. Like, I can remember when I, like, between the ages of like 18 and like 27 was like my peak years. Like, and it's so crazy too, because when you have a body like that and when you're in shape like that, you probably think you're always gonna be that way. And then you get older and you just have less energy to just do shit. It becomes easier to just eat, and before you know it, your metabolism don't work the same. So it's like, sometimes it's hard to see you outside of the age you're currently in, especially when you're young. Because sometimes you feel like you're always going to have the energy. You're always going to be fit. And then, God forbid, you put on a couple of pounds and people think you fell off. And it's like, bruh, I'm human, son.
But while every person we've discussed so far has continued to
He's
land
solid.
small roles here and there, it's time to talk about Cameron Diaz, who hasn't been cast in a single
had a
movie
thing
since
for Cameron, yo.
2014. She found massive success with movies such as Shrek, Charlie's Angels, and There's Something About Mary, holding the title of the highest paid actress
the voice of
over
Shrek?
the age of 40, while appearing in multiple films every year up until her disappearance. So what happened? Well, unlike most of the others we've covered in this video, Cameron Diaz's vanishing from Hollywood instead came from her end. She'd explained in an interview with Kevin Hart that as someone who performed at the top level of her field, she needed to spend every waking hour focusing on the craft, and she was tired of living such a singular focused life. Cameron Diaz has instead had a baby, written 2 self-help books, and launched a wine brand called Aveline, which seems to be much more than what Sacha Baron
Borat.
Cohen has been up
Wow.
to. After Borat grossed over $250 million back in 2006, Sacha Baron Cohen saw a steady decline in the performance of every film afterwards. The Dictator did 180
It's
million.
hard to duplicate
Bruno did
Thriller.
140
Every time someone tries to duplicate the original, I always say it's hard to duplicate Thriller, son. No matter what you obtain and all the successes you see prior to your biggest hit, you will never touch your #1 project, bro. It's impossible, bro. Like, Borat was a classic.
40 million, yet by 2016, Grimsby did only 28 million on a budget of 35 million, meaning the film lost $7 million, whilst prompting reviews such as Baron Cohen is a one-trick pony and his shtick has worn thin. In 2016, he stated that Hollywood would be too scared to make Borat today, explaining that the incredibly crude humor which made the movie so successful was better suited to when the film was first released. The kind of stuff he pulled off in Borat is much harder to do in this YouTube/iPhone age, as Cohen himself admitted while doing press for this one. The same kind of problem can also be applied to Bruno in The Dictator, but it's the risky comedy in these films that makes them so entertaining to watch. On top of being more limited in terms of what jokes he can make, Sacha Baron Cohen has also been limited by lawsuits. He stated in a 2012 interview that he could no longer make movies like Borat and Bruno, as the movies I did up till now they involved real people. At the moment, I think I have the Guinness World Record for the most sued actor in history, with Borat accounting for at least 7 of these lawsuits. Despite this, Sacha Baron Cohen did release Borat 2 in October 2020, which was purchased by Amazon for $80 million. So while it's clear that he is still finding success with these roles, it'll be interesting to observe the performance of his next original film.
Where the hell have I been? Borat 2 came out? Yo, it's crazy though. Like, it's almost sickening. And it draws the conclusion, like, yo, how does one win? Like, when you hear about the Jim Carreys and you hear about the Scott Williams and McLovin, I forgot his original name, my bad, but like, you're so great at your role that it's hard for people to unsee you as that person. So it's like you almost become like a victim of your success, because you were so great here that nobody wants to hire you to be someone else, because it's so hard to unsee you as that character we fell in love with years ago. It's kind of like the issue that you seen happen with Steve Urkel, Jaleel White, Carlton Banks. I'm not going to front like I know his name. Alfonso something. You know what I mean? Like, these childhood actors who just are infamous for their roles as one character, and then Hollywood just says, yo, bro, we don't have no space for you because we just don't. You know what I mean? So you become a victim of your success. But nonetheless, it looks like everybody here doing pretty good. It's not like they broke or cracked out or anything. So I don't really necessarily feel bad for them because they happy. Especially Jim. My son Jim said, I have enough. I can only dream for those words to come out my mouth, bro. I have enough? Okay. Appreciate you guys for tuning in. Subscribe is the vibe, man. I'm gonna holler at you guys in the next video. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button for more content from your boy Gabos. And I'm gonna holler at y'all, man. Mamba out.